ladies. Welcome to part 2 of Ways of the Empress, okay? Now, actually, I was thinking, Mommy, this is actually really a longer discussion because we're kind of talking about ways of the Empress for women who are in suitor mode. But there's also a whole nother level of ways of the Empress for women who are actually married.
They actually go together. Because one of the things that's important is we're not putting on, when we talk about activating our power as a woman, we're not putting on some clothing that we then take off sometimes and we put it back on another time.
Yes.
So what we say applies in the workplace, it applies to single women, it applies to married women, it applies to grandmothers like me and everything. So we're talking about a whole way of relating to ourselves and relating to the universe. So it's very applicable to all women.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was thinking the other day, you know how they say diets don't work, but lifestyle changes do work?
Exactly.
And that's kind of the way I've been looking at this transformative process. It's not a diet, it's a lifestyle change. So let's go ahead and get back into some of our rules. So just to remind you ladies, we were talking about the rules. And so Mommy was talking about the rules that she agrees with or the rules that she might revise just a little bit.
It's important to say that I've never read this book.
Yes.
And that, I have my own set of recommendations.
Yes.
And so Shatria wanted us to have this discussion where we could see to what degree are my Betty's rules similar to the actual rules.
Yeah, and that's another key point, ladies, that all the books on the book list that I'm drawing from, Mommy hasn't read any of these books. I may have read her passages of the books, but she has just always had her own approach that might have some overlapping points with some of these books, but she hasn't read any of our book list books.
Because I'm not the only woman. I mean, a lot of women in my generation in particular are conscious of the fact that women have a lot of personal power. So I'm not the only one out here,
Okay, so the part 1 we were talking about don't talk to a man first, and you already addressed that. So here's another one, rule 3, don't stare at men or talk too much. Now that's a big one.
I don't think we should stare at men, but I think women, you can make quick eye contact with a man and drop your eyes.
Yeah.
And that's enough. And don't go back. So that's a little different than staring, but it is some type of eye contact. For the whole process of activating our power, a lot of our power comes not from talking. And that's why it's important not to talk too much, because it comes more from body language, other ways of communication are much more powerful than what we say in terms of words.
Yes.
And this whole thing of talking too much that's a really serious thing. And this is not just as a woman, it's as a person, People who talk too much are an irritant.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, it's a form of self-centeredness, which I consider as not being something that helps to empower us as women, being self-centered. And so it's very important to listen, to get to know people. Now, if you're looking at your suitor list in terms of transforming a suitor into this fiance and then into the husband, it's extremely important because males have been, well, I shouldn't say just males, the yang energy is not an energy that's very communicative. But yet, one of my friends has a song called Where Do the Strong Go to Cry? And it's true for women, but it's particularly true for men, because there are very few places where a man can go to release himself, to replenish, to recreate. You go to God and you go to your mate. Yes. So when you're in this interviewing process, this is the chance for you to be the mate where this man can come to you to tell you all of his secrets that he's never shared with anyone. So you've always talked about being a good listener. So you have to be a good listener. And if you're a good listener, you're so involved in the other person's story that you offer prompts. You query them.
Like what type of prompts?
You could, let's say that
we're at dinner. Let's say we're at dinner. And we're talking, and so what would be some prompts that you would?
Well, you lean in a little closer and you don't speak too loudly, because that's a very yang quality, talking loudly. and you say, so tell me, I want to know your entire history. What were you like as a little boy? A man needs to be a man, even if we work in the workplace, ladies, is something different about our relationship with the workplace than a male. So males have a lot of pressures that we don't have as women, which is one of the reasons that they die before we do. So when they come to their woman or their possible woman, they don't need to hear all of this. They don't want to be in another war. They don't want confrontation. They don't want to be in combat. They have already been in combat.
Yes.
So when I say this is not manipulation. We're looking at how you can form a unit that can help both of you, that can help your children, that can help you move through life closer to God with greater happiness. You see?
Okay, but I think I want to ask you this in particular, though. A lot of us, and I know for me it's been hard. I have to relearn how to be a good listener. I've really been focusing on how to do that. But not only how to be a good listener, but how to not give too much information too soon. For example, I have a friend who was telling me she met a guy that she was really interested in, and he came over and they talked for about 20 or 30 minutes, and he was like, so where are you from? What do you do? And he was directing the conversation. So by the end of that conversation, he knew everything about her, and he didn't end up asking her number. So how do we keep that mystery, especially women who are more of those yang qualities, who are professionals, who are used to being like, I do this, and I have this degree, and I do, how do we keep that mystery?
Well, when he asks you, so what do? You say, oh, I'll tell you all of that, but I want to know about you. So you just reverse it so that you begin to understand him. Because there's a sort of self-centeredness in people who talk about themselves constantly. Because I know there should be, well, I shouldn't say there should be, because we are as we are.
Yes.
But in Yin women, there is an interest in others. It's like knowing their stories. It's as exciting as going to the movie.
Okay, rule number 4. Don't meet him halfway or go Dutch on a date. I want to know what you think
Now that's
about
one
this.
that I disagree with.
Really?
Yes. Let's go back to the whole notion. Let me ask you a situation. Let's say that God has blessed you with employment, but let's say that you were unemployed. Okay? And let's say that you were a man. And are you saying that because you're unemployed, that you should cease your search for a companion?
Well, I don't know if I'm clear on what you're saying. I mean, so you're saying that if the man is unemployed, he shouldn't...
No, I'm not saying
No,
that.
you're asking
Is
me.
that what you...
I don't think that, no.
Okay, let's say if you had a girlfriend who was unemployed, and would you not go out to have coffee or lunch with your girlfriend and pay for her? Or would you refuse the companionship simply because you have money and she doesn't?
But see, I think there's some different things here, especially talking about a suitor, right? If I meet a man and he is one of my suitors, and let's say that we choose a very simple place, right? Let's say that we choose Starbucks. And on our first date, we go to Starbucks, and he wants me to pay for my $3 coffee. To me, that's
different. He's not. It doesn't make a man feel good for a woman to have to pay, for him. So I'm saying, forget that he's a man. Just look at it as a human being. Now, I don't believe in people exploiting people, but let's look at this person as a human being who's in need. A human being who wants your companionship, but has no income. Because for some reason, God hasn't blessed him at this particular point in his life with income.
But don't you think, and this is a topic I'm very passionate about, and ladies, it's not because I feel that, it's like, oh, he gotta have money. It's not that at all, right? But I feel that if a man is at a certain point in his life, let's say he's 35 years old, right? And let's say that he is very committed to what he's doing, but for some reason he is financially limited. People are where they are. My philosophy is that people are where they are in their lives for a reason. Exactly. Not to say that that person isn't a good person or that that person doesn't work hard, but at 35 and that person is still, if we are on a first date and he can't buy me a cup of coffee, to me that immediately gets him out of my suitor process. my suitor selection mode, because I know for me as a 36-year-old woman who is looking for a husband where at least we can meet mutually halfway, that's not going to work for me, a suitor who at that point can't buy me a cup of coffee. Not take me for prime rib, not take me to a fancy restaurant, but for coffee.
Well, did you know, baby girl, that most of the men who are multi-millionaires went through a point where for years in their life, they couldn't afford to take you for coffee. And the women that they are married to now, the women who rejected them because of that, are so sad, as you know, because of that. Even everyone uses Tyler Perry has become the model kind of an entrepreneurial success for African Americans. And Tyler Perry couldn't, in 10 years ago, 1998, how many years ago is it? 98? Whatever years ago that is, Tyler couldn't have taken you out and paid for a cup of coffee. And so had you been so into role playing, you would be so sorry today that you didn't go out with Tyler. God has a reason for putting people in the positions, and we don't have a right to judge. If God has blessed us with abundance, we can share that. And when we share, but see, a lot of women don't have a problem. If they share with a man, they see it as an investment and not a gift. It's not an investment. You're not trying to buy his love. You can't do that. You're not trying to buy his body parts for a night. It's no different than if you share with a homeless person on the street, or if you share with one of your girlfriends. We're supposed to tie back. And we do that with no expectations, and God will bless us.
Absolutely, but I still have one more question, and we're going to wrap it up, ladies, because you can see this is a passionate conversation, right? But okay, so let's say you meet that man, right? The one who doesn't have any money, but you're like, he's a good-hearted person and he's really nice. I'm going to treat him to coffee, and for our first 10 dates, I end up paying for him. And let's say you end up being in a relationship with this man, and you end up being the one who's investing a lot of the money.
How long? What relationship you're talking about?
A boyfriend.
I don't believe in boyfriend.
But the thing is,
let's say you marry him and he has
no, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there are a lot of women out there who are meeting men and they say, man, he's a good person and he has so much potential. And they stay with this person and they make them the boyfriend, because at 3 months, if I'm buying him coffee for my 3 months, I guess the thing is like, what?
If he's worth your being with for those 3 months, he's worth your marrying. Once you marry him, it's no longer my money and his money. It's the family unit. And the family unit of you and he sit down and come up with a plan to start a business together, to do something that's going to generate the income for the family unit.
No, that makes more sense to me.
That's needed to support the family.
I agree.
But I would never, and I don't recommend ever rejecting a man based upon, the level of income. Now, you don't want substance users, you don't want alcoholics, you don't want chronic womanizers. Notice I say chronic womanizers. You don't want men who treat you bad. You don't want a multimillionaire who speaks harshly to you. You don't want people. You want a good person. And notice I didn't say a good man. You want a good person who has a good heart, who's an intelligent man, because it would be nice for your children to be very intelligent.
Okay.
If he's a good person, he's going to have good karma. And God teaches us we can have good karma and we can go through. God could take away every penny by tomorrow that you may have, or that I may have. Everything we do for others, God is the best investment in the world, because he literally gives it back to you just in abundance, in terms of dollars. God is the best investment. And so
we have to get ready to wrap up. So go ahead and make your last point, Mama.
Okay, so doing for others, whether they're our girlfriend, whether they're a male whether they're somebody we don't know, it's doing for God.
So ladies, this is a question we're definitely going to pose to you, because I want to know what you think. Going back to rule number 4, don't meet him halfway or go Dutch on a date. What do you think about that? We want your feedback this week. We love you, Empresses. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.